Okay, so welcome everyone. This is our stock and option webinar. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the market, what I'm loving, what I'm hating, and so on and so forth. And I'm just happy to have you guys here with us. Honestly, I'm a little tired of talking because I feel like I've been doing it all day long today and quite a bit this week. It's been a heavy talking week. I would love to hear some thoughts and ideas from you guys. I'd love to hear what you guys think looks interesting as far as the market goes, what you guys have been doing the last week. We'll review a couple of trades we looked at and how they went. Do you guys remember some trades we talked about last week, by the way? Anybody remember any of those? Let's see. Andrew, for some reason, audio doesn't work on my cell phone via Zoom, but now I'm using my PC. Okay. Let's see. Andrew, hopefully you've got some audio. Darn it, that's a pain if it's not. Okay, yeah, it's Zoom has had a few updates that have become a pain. By the way, regarding Zoom, so I've had a few people ask me and say, is Zoom secure, are we safe, and so on. I don't know if we're safe and if we're secure, but nobody is required to give any important information to get logged into Zoom. You don't have to put a credit card in there. You don't have to put a password. You don't have to do anything. You just have to put your name in there. That's it. And that's all. And so if Zoom isn't secure, the worst thing that we could see that I've heard so far is, a picture of something that people might not want to see flashing across the screen. But otherwise, I think we're secure and I think we're safe. And so that's the scoop. But otherwise, I think we're good. Okay, so some of the things that we talked about last week would have been and are, do you guys remember, good grief, let me get over here real quick. Last week we talked about what I called the boring stocks, right? Coke. Anyone get any Coke, Coca-Cola? Talked about this guy just making a zoom. I wanted to see some of these things pull back a little bit more, and they kind of have just continued higher, right? Coke from last week when we were talking about this, Coke is up, kind of in this general vicinity here, 15%, give or take, right? So Coke's made a pretty fantastic run. Pepsi, same thing, big, huge run there, big gaps up. Did you guys know that this week has been the best week for the S&P in how many years? Anybody know? How many years? This is the best trading week in the S&P in the last, somebody hurry, take the words out of my mouth, 45 years. 45 years. This has been the best up week in 45 years. So let's see. When was the start of this week? I don't even know how much we're up this week, but the start of the week was it this week or last week? I don't know. Anyway, we'll just assume it's this week, the 6th. So here is, there's that. Oh yes, we started with this gap higher. So pretty, there's been some pretty good movements here. All good points. Yeah, Sam. Here to stay or more rockiness to come? That is the theme of today, my friend. That's a good question, and I do want to talk about that because I think that's what we're all kind of wondering about, asking ourselves, asking others, right? Where is this going? I don't think the election is as big of a part of this now as how hard is the economy going to be hit from all this shutdown, right? So before the election was the only thing that mattered. And then it kind of shifted pretty rapidly to, how much, I honestly, I almost forgot there was an election this year because, we're so fixated on these unemployment numbers, right? I mean, we've had, 10 million plus unemployment claims in the last 10 or 12 days or 14 days. I mean, it's been nuts, right? It's been totally crazy nuts. And you're right, Mel, here we are about halfway back. If we just look at something like, our typical kind of Fibonacci movements here, S&P down here, and we're sitting right at the 50% level. right on the dot, right on the stinking dot, right here at 2,800 almost. So that's significant. That's significant. So where is all of this going to go, and how long is it going to take to get there, and how is it going to play out? And I think that is the big, huge question. Wow, Steve, gas in New Jersey, 189. Mel, filled up your tank for 245. Gas is cheap, man. It's cheap everywhere. Uh, there seems to be a lot of demand being stored up in quarantine for sure. For sure. Andrew, you bought American Airlines, Carnival, and United, looking to hold 6 months. Coronavirus weakens this at least 50% more run, in my opinion. Okay, good. I like that. I like that. No one's driving gas in Minnesota. It's 99 cents. Scott, good heavens, man. That's fantastic. I think this is a good time. I don't know how long gas stores for, but if it has like a shelf life or an expiration date, this would be a good time to get in on some of that. Yeah, good. Landing 249 in San Jose. I saw some premium gas for regular was 190. I saw some 190s. A Chevron had it for 190 today. Crazy, crazy. 25 cents. Let's go. Let's go. I think, you know, my truck that I have is, even if gas were 25 cents, it almost still wouldn't be economical to drive because, man, it's just a beast. But guys, yeah, the thing that we're wondering about here is how is this whole thing going to play out, right? Are we, you know, the question that has been asked to everybody is, you know, what kind of recovery is this going to be, right? Is this going to be this, right? Just a V bottom, or is it going to be this and a double bottom, or, you know, the one that nobody wants, right, is this and that. So, you know, that's going to be the big question. That's going to be the big question. Yeah, for sure, Andrew. Big disconnect from Wall Street and Main Street, for sure. Construction still going strong. Okay, all good points. All good points. You know, here is something to think about. So everyone said, "Oh my gosh, you know, so much value is lost in the stock market on this big sell-off right here, right?" Yes, you know, paper value, of course, right? But if you remember, you know, as you guys kind of read the, you know, statistics and the numbers and so on, remember this big sell-off right here, 75% of Americans don't own any stock. So that did nothing for the majority, right? And if they do own some stock, you know, I'm not talking, I have 5 shares of AT&T that my grandpa gave me, you know, kind of a thing. But it is a, it's a disconnect to some degree. But what is happening is institutions are buying up stock like crazy, right? Buying because things are cheap. There's a lot of stock that's really, really cheap, and you know, why not buy into that, right? People are asking me, you know, should I be? I've seen people buying puts on some of this stuff. Don't do that, guys. Just don't buy any puts. Nobody buy puts. Don't buy puts, because even if this goes down, how badly do you think you want to, you know, short the S&P that still is 20% off its highs right now and on a little bit of a recovery? You know, these kinds of things, stay away from that. Stick with the long-term direction. If there's one thing that traders should learn as quickly as possible, is picking direction is a tough thing. And so the more we can say, what is the propensity of all of these stocks to do? And that is go up, right? There's going to be some that are going to suffer and go sideways and so on. Let's try to stick with this long-term uptrend. Let's not try to short the market, because most people are going to be killed in that. Even if this thing drops like a rock, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Actually, another thing that I want to that I want to really point out to everybody is there is no need to chase any of these trades, right? Make sure that you guys are finding these opportunities where you find an area that you want to get in. You find something that looks good, that looks solid, you know, some very good dipping points, and buy into the S&P, buy into stocks, airline stocks, banking stocks, and just go with that uptrend, go with that movement, right? And don't try to short this and get long this and short that and get long that. Just let's just trade the direction here. But let's wait for these big pullbacks. Let's wait for these opportunities to get in on these dips so that we don't get caught on the wrong side of all of this movement. Because what will really kill people, and trust me, I've seen a bunch of this already just this week, for example, what's going to kill people is this. And that is what I think we could see a bit of. And maybe, you know, maybe it's more this, right? Maybe it's got to go up a little bit more and then come down and not retest that low and then take out that high and not, you know, and get really messy, right? And so what we've got to be careful of in this whole move is we're going to be, again, and I've said this many times before, and I'll continue to say it because I see people doing this still. We're going to be caught up here saying, okay, let's get bullish here. Oh, and it drops. I'm gonna take a loss, right? As it goes back up, and now I'm really frustrated. Now I think that everything I do is I should be doing the opposite, right? And I see this happen over and over and over again, and we don't want to do that. We want to just keep the broad perspective of don't buy an up market, buy a down market, and that down market is going to be get this pullback. However far we can get this thing back, get that pullback. So we've got to keep an eye on that. Let's see here. You are working for the government, giving money away. Exactly right now. I think the broad market going down to new lows for months starting tomorrow. I see iPhone on here. Who's iPhone? Because it's starting tomorrow. Okay, going back down tomorrow. Fed is juice the economy. If coronavirus goes away, Dow going to 40,000. Very possible. Very possible. Does the 50% fib level. Okay, good, good. A lot of bull traps. We need to look to buy the bottom. Yeah, I think so, Andrew. And I think that's what we've got to be very, very conscious of. So there's a lot of big stocks that have done a lot of great things, right? We've seen S&P, you know, make this big run up. It's had this huge, you know, keep in mind the S&P off this flash crash low right now is up 28%. Low to high, 28%. I mean, that's amazing. That's fantastically amazing. So, okay, all right, good, good. So that kind of thing that we, you know, that we have to be waiting for. I don't want anybody chasing the market. If anybody buys a single thing right here on S&P, right here, right now, that's going to be terrible, right? We don't want to buy an up market. Let this thing, even if this is going to kind of trickle up there and then drop, let's wait for that drop. And let's not try to say, I'm going to get in right here because I just, you know, this has been going up, so it's going to keep going up. No, 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 no. We've got to make sure that we get those dips and we get in on those pullbacks, no matter what the stock is, no matter how strong it is, right? Home Depot's made some pretty big runs here. Home Depot's had this massive, this massive move higher. So let's find some levels on Home Depot, right? I know a lot of people, I've talked to several people this week that have said Home Depot is very interesting. This is going to be a great stock, so let's watch this one. There's going to be some good opportunities running through here. You know, maybe Home Depot needs to get all the way back down into 160. Maybe it needs to get back down to 180. You know, these are areas that we're going to just kind of keep our eyes on and make sure that we're kind of watching for those pullbacks and waiting for those pullbacks. Because if we don't get them, then we'll have another better kind of setup. But the thing that we cannot do right now is chase this market. I'll be honest, I have, you know, as we've talked about, I've you know, I'm trading some of the banking stocks. I bought some Bank of America. I bought some, a little bit of Delta Airlines. But I'm very not anxious to trade much of anything right now. I just, you know, whenever we're in this kind of a situation right here where we've got, you know, here's Home Depot, there's our high, and there's our low, right? And where are we on Home Depot between that high and low? We're sitting between the 50 and 61% fib. Now, if you're not familiar with what Fibonacci's are, just think we're right in the exact middle almost, right? There's as much room to get back into those highs as there is to get back into those lows. So this is an area that I don't want to be trading in. So I want everyone to kind of make sure that you're you're comfortable and you're okay with not chasing this market and trying to say, okay, this is just going to keep going up, so I'm gonna buy it right now, or this is going to go down, so I'm going to buy a put on it right now. Don't do either of those. Do not do either of those. I can't say in any more clear terms that we just got to stay away from that kind of stuff. I just have seen people getting beat up in this market of trying to call the top of this recovery, or trying to just run with the momentum, and somehow those both seem to be wrong, right? And so we don't want to be doing either of those. We want to just be waiting and letting this market play out. I'm very happy to trade credit spreads on some of these pullbacks and do some of this stuff here, but anything that's recovered too much, I'm less anxious to get into, and you know, I'll just be more patient and waiting for my entries. Andrew, gold has been fantastic hold since summer 2019. Could still be a great hedge against inflation. Yeah, and inflation, you know, how much is inflation going to be the factor here? You know, and that's where I think gold has, you know, gold is more of a pattern play in my book here. For anybody that's kind of looking at gold, this is a significant bullish pattern, right? So we had a big rounded bottom here on gold, and you know, I'm looking for 1800, 1900 for sure to get hit. Beyond that, I don't know where it's going to go, but this is certainly a bullish enough pattern to get us into a massive double top, and from there it's anyone's game, right? From, you know, we reach those 2011 highs. That's where we have a big decision to be made. Now, as far as predicting beyond that, I have no ability to do that. But I think trading around major decision points is going to be, a big great thing to do here. So, yeah, those are all good points. But you know what happened last time? You know, we had that in 2008, right? I mean, there was a lot of expectations of hyperinflation from 2008, and you know, gold did make a nice run up. You know, we saw it double in value from 2008 to 2011. Oh, great! So you know, we could see the same type of thing happen here, for sure. But yeah, it's an interesting proposition here with gold. But what about with these stocks, right? Where are these guys headed? So, you know, as we talked about last week, we talked about Delta Airlines as one of a favorite. Delta made a big run up, a big run down, double bottom, and they're deciding what to do right here. Airlines are getting murdered, right? There's still, you know, there are flights all around. I've mentioned to a couple of people that I have a friend who was a flight attendant, and she said that she's done many flights that have had less than 5 people on them. And in fact, they just had a flight with 1 passenger. They flew all the way from California to like Chicago with 1 passenger. So the airlines are still going to take a beating, but the airlines are an industry that cannot go out of business. They have a government, you know, guarantee behind them. So, you know, is it going to be a good idea to buy a stock that's down, I mean, you know, high to low 70%? Oh, I think so. I think it's got to be. But yeah, 10 years going to be interesting. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And you know, the moral of the story is we could buy any of these stocks right now. We could buy all these stocks right now and hold on to them for long enough, and we'd make a killing, right? We'd make a killing. So it's the short-term picture that I think is going to be, you know, pretty important, and that's going to get a lot of people caught up. The short-term picture is really, really tricky right now. I mean, I'm kind of curious here. Yeah, Steve, good point. Hopefully they got first class. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be it's gonna be an interesting one for sure. Tell me, I'm curious what you guys think are going to be. I mean, I mean, just obviously anyone's feelings, anyone's thoughts. This doesn't have to be backed up by any proof or science or technical analysis from the charts. How do you guys think the economy is going to look over the next 1 to 3 months? What's everyone's kind of sense of how things are going to be in 1 to 3 months? And let's maybe lean more on the 3 month side of it. 3 months from now, what are we in? We're April, May, June, July-ish. I mean, what do you guys think, mid to late summer things are going to look like? What's everyone's thoughts? Mel, bad for the next 6 months? Yeah, slow. Steve, slow in the beginning. Lenny, half open. Okay. Choppy and news driven. I think that's a good point. Because that's where I think we're going to get the most caught up, right? Is in this kind of medium term kind of situation. 1 to 3, 3 to 6, kind of months is where it's going to be a mess. So that's what we've got to be kind of keeping an eye on. Sam, I'm shocked that guys like Ray Dalio are saying Depression era. I think this is a big deal, but I think at least the U.S. economy can easily get supercharged by 2021. Yeah, the Great Depression. That's everyone's got to throw out the big, the big predictions for sure, and they're Dalio's going for it. A lot of demand is being built up. Economy will be up by summer if virus is minimized. Okay, that's a good point. According to Trump, it's going to be great. Bad, especially if we get a second wave of coronavirus. New highs by August. Wow. Yeah, that's what's tricky right now, guys. Is it goes back to Buffett. Can't predict, so what can we do? Yeah, I'm definitely I'm feeling pretty torn about kind of this near term stuff. Now, keep in mind, I have to be totally honest. The only news I get is from the market, right? I don't watch news ever. I do read headlines, but I don't pay attention to news. I want to know what the key headlines are, and if I need to watch that, fine. I don't watch any news on TV. I don't even know if I have news channels. I might not. Who knows? But I get all my news from the market, right? How's the market behaving, and what are some of the things that are kind of catching everyone's attention right now? So I try to keep a little bit on the unbiased side of things, and I think that this is where we need to be a little bit extra careful, right? This medium term kind of stuff. I think this is a great idea to buy cheap stocks. It's a great time to pick up in some of these industries that have been battered, but we know we're going to come back, right? Airline industry is a death march, but what happens in the airline industry, right? These guys take the biggest beating, and this is one of the reasons why I like the airline stocks right now. These guys have taken some of the biggest beatings, right? Delta gets hammered after 2001, right? People, I mean, as much just about as now, if not even a little bit more, people stopped flying after 2001, right? Remember 9/11, and they said, I'm not getting in an airplane. And so all these airline stocks just went, halfway bankrupt. And they had to be taken private and restructured and then spun off again and went public. Delta was one of those that did that just in time to hit, 2008, right? And then they just struggled for years and then finally make their way back up, and they're doing great again. Airline stocks take these massive beatings and they always recover. And that's kind of one of the reasons I really like the airline stocks, is because that huge, terrible sell-off followed by this whole situation of when are people going to fly again? I mean, I don't think we've ever had a time in America where planes are flying around with one person on them, right? One person. I mean, that's ridiculous. But, they're getting paid by the government, so it's fine. But one person on them, that's a real situation. But it doesn't change the fact that airline stocks that are industries that cannot be these guys can't go bankrupt, and they won't go bankrupt. People will fly again. Things will happen again. It might be a bigger dip here from some of these on some of these airlines, but you know, if I'm buying Delta at $24, let's just say, and I'm planning on holding on to it for the next 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, Delta, this whole coronavirus thing will be a small blip on the radar, right? This was just going to be a massive opportunity to buy this at such a better level, right? Such a better level. So that's kind of the approach I'm taking. The real long term, I think, is a no-brainer. It's just that short term, that medium term, that's going to be really tricky, and this is where a lot of people are going to get beat up. Patty, this is where all the clears announced, our pent-up demand will explode. I think that's very possible. I think absolutely. Mel, watch MSNBC for about 2 hours a day, then shift to Hallmark movies for relief. That is excellent. That's excellent. I can't disagree with that. Andrew the Bella would keep us afloat if this virus goes away and all things skyrocket. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, there you go, Mel. Flew to San Francisco, full flights. Low rates, free money, administration extremely committed to bailing out. Trump wants to get reelected. He is hyper-focused on the market. Yep, that's true. That's true. How long can you keep options for long-term investments? You can keep options for a crazy long time. Yeah, you can. You know, it just depends on individual options. You can, you know, you can buy a super long-term option, a year and a half, 2 years. It just depends. You have to go to the individual stock and just see what's offered. You can buy an option out 500-600 days out, you know, so you're, you know, two-ish years out there, year and a half, 2 years. So yeah. Yeah, I think, and 1, 2, 3, 4, I think that's you, Janae, I think. And yeah, Mel, yep, long-term options are good, I think good there. I think definitely right now buying some stocks is great. And I think, yes, Andrew. And I'll post some material for some basic training stuff on options. Yeah. But I think right now there will be some short-term stuff that we can do. For me, for example, it's going to be an absolute no-brainer if we get a pullback. Then options will be great. Right now, for me, options I don't like at all, right? I mean, I do like, but I'm not super excited about trading an option right here. But if I do see a pullback in a lot of these kinds of movements and we can start working on that double bottom, that W pattern, right? Then I think it's going to be a no-brainer, right? We can start saying, because we need to get a move to give us kind of a month of something ahead, right? So as we see the S&P, if this pulls back and gets anywhere near a double bottom, we have a clear month or two of probably upward movement. And if we get some more pullbacks, then we've probably got another clear month or two of maybe making new highs and upward movement. It's just right here, not a good time and not a good place to be trading an option. Now, you know, if we're looking at a stock that's right there, probably a fine time to buy the stock. You know, buy Bank of America, you know, on this nice little pullback right here, right? Buy the heck out of them. That's great, no problem. You know, they've pulled back a good little bit. If we go back to kind of this Fibonacci outlook right here, sitting at the 38%, totally fine. You can buy the heck out of this thing. It might drop from $24 back down to $20. Who cares? Because if you're buying the stock and you're holding on to it for the next 1, 2, 3 years, you're going to be totally good. It's just on the option side of things, this is a terrible place to be trading this with an option, right? This is terrible because this thing has to drop back down a lot for us to really know if we're wrong about the trade. And it could continue higher, but this is, you know, we're in a lot of middle ground on some of these on some of these stocks, and so the shorter term kind of option play is going to be tough. Long-term stock holdings and option trades on pullbacks are kind of the thing that I'm looking for. And I, you know, people that do sessions with me and so on hear me say over and over again, I am not anxious to jump in on any of this until I get the setup that I want to see. And the setup that I have seen endless times over the many years of trading is big moves, pullbacks, retracements, big moves. right? And until I see something similar to that, I have no problem just waiting it out. But again, on a lot of these stocks, on these airline stocks and on these banking stocks and on all the rest of these, this is a great opportunity to buy massively discounted stocks, right? And so I think that the long-term play is easy and the short-term play is easy enough, but that kind of medium term is where things get tricky. And that's why we've got to just be so patient and get the best setups possible, which is going to be very clear pullbacks on these stocks, double bottoms, things like that, where we can, trade this up. The question is, do we have a full recovery underway right now? I mean, I don't think we should, because who knows how long it's going to take to get the economy back up and running. Nobody really understands what's going to happen there. So why shouldn't we get a nice, big, solid pullback on these stocks and an opportunity to buy some options on these dips? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Still, okay. Everything is looking for pullbacks when everyone is looking for something that doesn't happen just that. Yes, Andrew, I subscribe to that train of thought 100%, 100%. The things that everybody's expecting and hoping for and waiting for are the things that are least likely to happen, 100%. And that's where I say we have a lot of reasons to believe some of this is going to happen, but it might happen in a little bit of an uglier fashion, right? So that's where people are going to say, darn it, this just isn't going to pull back, right? This just isn't going to pull back. This is going to be, we're expecting now a V-bottom type move. And what this will do is this will kind of trickle higher, and then dip hard, right? It's gonna dip. As soon as it goes far enough, and keep in mind, this is exactly what happened in the S&P, and this is why I'm looking for this kind of thing. This was such typical market psychology type movement, where everybody said, okay, S&P gets kind of sideways and boring. We get this big sell-off at the end of 2018. We kind of have a bit of a double top here, beginning of 2018, end of 2018. Sells off hard, right? Everyone's just like, forget this market. It rallies hard, and then it just starts to consolidate, and people are going, okay, this has got to be the top, right? We're starting to, see this consolidation around these, around these highs. We're getting all this consolidation. This is the place, and keep in mind, in all my trade groups and all the things I do, this is all I heard. This is the high right here, and things are going to start to correct. No, they went just a bit more, right? And we bomb Iran. We have we have all this tension here. We have the coronavirus breaking out in China. The market doesn't care. Keeps going up. People just say, you know what? Whatever. You got to buy this market. It can't go any. It just doesn't seem to care about anything. And that's when the movement happens, right? And I think this could be very, very similar to what we see in the shorter term over here, which is this runs up higher to the point where everyone's like, oh my gosh, we're basically to the highs before the coronavirus sell-off, right? And then that's when we get the big sell-off. And that's where so we might have to watch this thing go up another massive chunk. That's a total possibility. This may need to go up a big enough chunk that everyone says, all right, it's time to just jump on board, because I'm still getting in lower than this area here. And then lo and behold, when that happens is when we get, the big sell-off, and that's where we can start buying this thing. So I don't know. It could be Monday. It could be in a month. But I'm not trading this middle area for anything, because it's got to run up a bunch or down a bunch before I can get into it. Martha, what about some of the pharmaceuticals or healthcare? Yeah, that's a good question. And those are interesting. And let's talk about those for a minute. Andrew, could go up, then collapse again. Market seems to be paying attention. Demand and bailout. I think that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. So as far as the healthcare stocks, I'm torn on these, right? If you go to the sector, if you go to the healthcare kind of sector here and you look at all this, I mean, there's so many that darn thing. There's so many that are just kind of in these weird places that I don't feel like I want to trade, right? Johnson and Johnson, you know, these guys are working on a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't change the fact that Johnson and Johnson's now in this sideways channel, right? You have you have these guys, Gilead, which had some, thoughts on a vaccine that they were working on, so on. Doesn't change the fact that it kind of just puts them into this big, long, sideways channel of the last 2 years, and it's just at the top of that channel. So I look at so many of these, and I just think to myself, they don't look great. They're just at the tops of channels that have been in existence for a while, a couple of years. So I don't feel so inclined to trade those healthcare stocks and those pharmaceutical stocks right now. I just feel like they're gonna peter out like kind of everything else has done. That looked promising, right? Think of all the retail stocks that looked so solid, so promising. Costco made this new high, and then here they are. Oh, sorry, I guess that high was before the crash, but Costco is hung in there really well. Walmart is hung in there, but they're all kind of fizzling. Kroger, right? They're all kind of just in their fizzle areas, and it's it's not too inspiring that they're going to be able to really do something amazing, even though it seems like there's tons of demand for all this retail stuff because we go to stores and we see empty shelves, right? It doesn't seem to be kind of propping things up. Sam, not to ask a boring question, but does just buying Berkshire Hathaway, Berkshire, let Warren do the work with all the cash sitting there? Yeah. Now remember, companies can do well and their stock may not be doing awesome, or companies can be doing okay and their stock might be doing really well. So just buying stock of a company of somebody that is smart is not always the best strategy, right? And it's a good point you bring up, but it's and maybe now would be a good time to buy some Berkshire stock and see if we can get a good dip on that. But yeah, it's there will be broken correlations between the performance of a company's stock and the actual performance of a company, right? Healthcare stocks may be a good call if we have a new administration which is focused on universal healthcare and enhancing affordable. Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. Mel, Clorox, yeah. Okay. Long-term demand for bleach. I think there's going to be bleach and toilet paper shortages for long periods to come, for sure. Many cities are limiting what they're allowed to sell. I have seen that. Yeah, and that's true. And that could be, heavily impacting some of these retail stocks, right? Because they're saying, look, you can't sell stuff that people don't need anymore. And so that's interesting. Some pharmas may go up a lot until a cure or vaccine is found, and they might die. That's a good point, Martha. Mel, you got toilet paper at Costco. Man, we still don't have any. Guess what, though? I went to a gas station today that had gas for $1.90, and they had single rolls of toilet paper you could buy. And I thought, wow, they should have been selling them for $10 a roll. So, guys, to kind of put this all in a bow, boring stocks are good. I like boring stocks. But I need to see something much more clear to trade right now. And I want to give everybody permission to just say, if you're looking at your charts and saying, I don't know what to trade right now. Honestly, I don't know what to trade. That's okay. And when you don't know what to trade, don't trade anything. I'm buying short-term options on airline stocks. I think those are interesting because they're giving little bumps. I'm buying some banking stocks short-term, so I think there's some interesting little bumps there. But I need to see these things pull back and give me some sort of good, recognizable something to work with before before I get really excited about anything, right? And so don't hesitate to do nothing. It's okay. You don't have to be in, you don't have to participate in this market here, because it's in a tricky place. When we're in the middle of an all-time high and a ridiculous crash low, this is a tough area, and middle spots are tough. So it's okay to do nothing. It's okay to be very conservative right now. The saying that I've said a million times is, I would always rather miss a good trade than be stuck in a bad trade. And if we feel like we're supposed to be doing something right now because we're supposed to be doing something, that's never a good enough reason to trade. I want everybody to focus on finding good technical levels to get into these trades and letting the market get there. And if it doesn't get there, reassess, right? And if it doesn't get there, reassess. And so, you know, if I'm looking at, you know, going back to Home Depot, I like Home Depot. This is great. I think 160 and 170 are great areas on Home Depot. If it doesn't get back down to that, then I'm going to reassess. I'm going to look for something else that I can get into. But for this next week, that's what I'm looking for. 160, 170 on Home Depot. And I'll feel really good about getting in at those areas if I can, right? If it gets down there. Otherwise, I'll reassess and look for something else. You know, on these airline stocks sitting at this double bottom, if you're not in yet, you know, I think the airline stocks could be a little bit more of that, you know, that kind of L pattern. And they could go for a long period of time sideways and low. They may not head too much lower, but they may not be able to go too much higher as well. And so with the airline stocks, you know, you might need to go with a longer term option for something like that. For the banking stocks, you know, let's just get a more aggressive double bottom. I can't imagine the banks aren't under a ton of stress right now. And will that give an opportunity to buy a little bit of a dip on the banking stocks? Probably. So that's what we're gonna, you know, kind of be looking for. And if I can't get a good clear movement, I'll wait until I can get a good clear movement. I have no need to just trade the heck out of something to just do it, because I think that's what's going to get us in some trouble for sure. Cruise lines, yeah, Andrew, cruise lines are interesting. Carnival, did you guys see a little bump on Carnival? These guys just have the worst time with everything in the world. Carnival seems like they're hanging in there, but they have some big boo-boos. But Carnival took a nice little bump up, right? Because the Saudi sovereign fund bought about 8.5% of Carnival's stock, and that caused a nice little bump up. They thought to themselves, you know what? Carnival stock is trading at what was it trading at? They're about $8, and they bought into it, and you know, caused it to bump up a little bit. Immediately made a massive amount on their investment. But yeah, the cruise lines are interesting. Well, good. It's okay to just watch for sure. Yep, Sam. Interesting. Yeah. Fed changing tones and so on. Steve, yep, probably next Thursday, 7 p.m. If you can't decide what to do, you effectively decided to do nothing. And doing nothing right now is not bad. That's the truth, Martha. Absolutely. I was up 20% one day on NCLH on a small position. NC, is that Norwegian? No, what is that? NCLH. Oh yeah. Yeah, so their chart looks pretty much exactly like Carnival's. You know, they're just everyone's kind of making a little bit of moves here. Carnival or the cruise lines, I think, are very speculative bets right now in the most severe way. It could be a very long time. People will have to fly again. Nobody wants to fly right now, but they'll have to fly again. Nobody will have to take a cruise, right? And so the only upward swings we're going to see on these cruise lines is just simply, you know, bargain shoppers probably, right? So if the airline industry is fully back up and running at full capacity in a year, I can't imagine the cruise industry is going to be at full capacity in a year. It might be 2 years or 3 years before they're at full capacity. And so I think it's going to be, yeah, it's possible, but I think there's going to be some skepticism. I have to, in full disclosure, I think cruises are the best vacations. I want to lay around and eat and do nothing, but I think that industry is going to be pretty hard hit. So airlines, banking stocks, these are all good looking ones. You know, I think Coke and Pepsi has made the move I wanted it to make. And if I get a pullback on that, you know, those real, you know, just low key stocks that nobody talks about. No one's talking about Coke or Pepsi. I think those are going to be good. Martha, Disney I think is good. Disney I'm a little skeptical about because it's costing them billions of dollars to keep their parks closed, right? They have a lot of, you know, their labor force is still somewhat intact. They have a lot of expenses, and this is costing them a lot of money. And I can't imagine Disney's going to get too much bailout money, although they might. It seems like they're kind of handing it out to everybody. And you know, is Disney Plus at $7 a month enough to keep the whole company going? I don't know. People feel pretty good about the stock, but again, this is the long-term picture, right? Can I buy Disney today and have it be worth a lot more than I paid for it today in 5 years? Heck yes. So again, great stock play, tricky option play right here. So on the short, you know, short term, it's going to be a little bit, interesting. Supposed to be on a 2-month cruise this past January, locked out. You were going on a 2-month cruise, Mel? That sounds amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah, is that the John Hopkins? What's the coronavirus? Johns. Is it Johns Hopkins? Where's the yeah, is it? It's one of these. Yeah, this guy right here. Corona Town. Boom, boom, boom. What are the numbers looking like? Total confirmed cases, 1.5 million. The U.S., 461,000. Spain. Does anyone else feel like it's not 100% true that I don't know? This China situation feels interesting, but so Patty, I'm with you. I don't know how much of any of this I believe, to be honest. I feel like, I mean, not that I disbelieve some of this. I think there's a massive lack of testing, and that's going to make it hard to really understand what the numbers are telling us. I think China, I don't know, anyone that is responsible for this kind of virus situation, we have to be skeptical of. Yeah, how much truth is out there? That's true. Okay, guys. So to kind of keep everything in perspective, I'll try, Rick. I'll try to maintain myself here. To kind of keep things into perspective, let's make sure that we're not being aggressive about these trades. We're being patient. We're letting the right setup happen. If you're feeling frustrated or anxious about what you should be doing right now, nothing is okay to be doing. I've had people contact me. One of my good buddies, by the way, told me the other, like 2 weeks ago, he said, hey, I closed out everything in my 401k because I think this is all headed lower and I'm going to buy a big dip. And it's only been going up since he did that. So the other thing to remember is for those with retirement funds and so on, let this dip happen. We never try to sell a dip. We never sell a dip. We only buy dips. So just kind of keep all those things in mind. And let's hang in there. Let's be safe. I don't have any really great, awesome trade ideas this week, other than I'm just going to keep an eye on some pullbacks kind of across the market, because I think we're coming up to that time where it's where the rebalancing has happened, and let's start buying some dips. And until that happens, I'm not going to get into much, and I will happily and patiently wait for these movements to work. And from there, we'll see how it all plays out. But thanks, everybody. Good luck on everything. Great questions, great participation. Thanks for your thoughts, guys. I know we covered a lot of things, and I just wanted to get to everyone's questions and kind of just let everyone know what I'm doing and what I'm looking at, what I think should happen. And so I think it's a big patience game right now. So we'll just stay patient, stay calm, and let it go. So thanks, everybody. Nice to see you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Happy Easter weekend to everybody that celebrates it. If you don't, just have a good weekend and stuff. And thanks, guys. And to those in my other trade group, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. And we'll take it from there. But yes, happy Easter to all. Thanks for being on, guys. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. I'll get this recording posted as well. Take care, guys.